Is AI killing SEO? Let's find out with today's special guest, Jason Berkowitz.
Welcome to the Artificial Intelligence Podcast, where we make AI simple, practical, and accessible for small business owners and leaders. Forget the complicated tech talk or expensive consultants. This is where you'll learn how to implement AI strategies that are easy to understand and can make a big impact for your business. The Artificial Intelligence Podcast is brought to you by Fraction AIO, the trusted partner for AI digital transformation. At Fraction AIO, we help small and medium-sized businesses boost revenue by eliminating time-wasting, non-revenue generating tasks that frustrate your team. With our custom AI bots, tools, and automations, we make it easy to shift your team's focus to the tasks that matter most, driving growth and results. We guide you through a smooth, seamless transition to AI, ensuring you avoid costly mistakes and invest in the tools that truly deliver value. Don't get left behind. Let Fraction AIO help you stay ahead in today's AI-driven world. Learn more and get started at fractionaio.com.
Jason, I'm excited to have you here because we've seen massive drops in traffic from SEO over the past year. We've seen Google make some big moves where first they started pulling summaries, and now they're doing more and more AI things that are taking the content and trying to keep you from visiting the website. We just saw a study came out this week that says people, when they get the results of AI, they don't even click the link. So is there any benefit to SEO? And there's talk of switching to AIO or AEO. What is the future? Like, is it over?
First off, thank you, Jonathan, for bringing me on here. This is awesome to be here. I think it's so nuanced and there's so much here to talk about that first and foremost, I think the main takeaway is we really don't know. We don't know what the future is going to hold. We're in that evolution period, but there's so much expectations of user behavior shifts, consumer behavior shifts. The question about if people are soured now with a horrible AI experience because of hallucinations and all that, is that also going to impact the predictable evolution of what's taking place right now? So it's definitely an interesting time that I don't think anybody really knows the answer to, nor are there any proven frameworks for GEO, AI, LLM optimization right now. I think the best thing we can do is just collect data. We built a tool internally which hits all the different APIs and just starts collecting data based on prompts, just so we can gauge our clients' presence in these different tools, but also just regular GEO or whatever acronym you choose is still really good SEO. And at the end of the day, it should all be about the user. But SEO is not dead and doesn't seem like it's going to be dead for a long time, nor is Google dead. Google's still controlling the largest market share of search by a really wide margin as well. And to your point about links and links from ChatGPT, mentions are great to follow. But what happens when you get a mention on ChatGPT, like for product research, but they don't give you the link? The question is, where are you going to go next? You're going to go to Google and type in that brand name.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is blogs and that type of content or educational content, and it creates this race to the bottom. A perfect example is Reddit sold all of their data to Google, and then Google's, well, why would we send traffic anymore? The traffic's down 60, 80%, depends which number you look at. And we're seeing it happen to a lot of smaller websites where, let's say you post news related content, right? Fresh content, like content rather than product. Google just gives people the answer and you don't click to the website. That's what we're really seeing, is that for Google, it used to be very simple. You get traffic from Google, then you'd sell it back in the form of AdSense, right? It's this cycle, and then we just cut out the websites. But I also think this leads to a massive decrease in the quality. So then no one's going to write. Why write quality content if no one's ever going to see it? So it creates this Ouroboros, like this snake eating its own tail, where then Google's worthless because first you keep buying content from lower and lower quality sources, like Reddit's not the best source. And then you go lower and lower, and then pretty soon you have content written that's derivative of Reddit. And we're already seeing X's model, the Twitter model, is talking about they're going to start deleting content from the training material that they don't think is true. So you should clean the content first. It's wait, the Twitter AI is going to decide what's true and not, and then train a new AI. And you're just going to create digital idiocracy. So I guess the real question is for someone who is thinking, ooh, they've already seen their traffic decrease, or they're a small website, they've really been using organic strategies in the past. If they're not a physical product, especially, let's really think about people that are in the content space or digital product How can they still survive in this environment where it's getting really cutthroat and really tough?
Yeah. For publishers and publications that do rely on ads and AdSense and other similar type of platforms, it's really hard for them. And I've spoken with quite a few people who are heads of SEO at big publications, and they've been trying to figure the same thing out. And it's just now moving away from organic news, discover as a traffic source and lean in and allocate resources more to other marketing verticals like social, like YouTube and stuff. So publications is a really tough one because it definitely hasn't been fair to publications. And then to your point about training data on publication data or like user generated content, like which is subjective sometimes. Like Reddit can be good, but also Reddit can be very toxic. So what does that mean? I think you bring up a really great point on the business of publications. That I don't have the answer to. I think it's a really tough one. Other brands, though, that have been impacted with declines in organic search and clicks, we've also, I think the consensus has been, and we've seen for our clients as well, super top of the funnel type of queries and intent, like super informational intent has been impacted. The question then is, okay, if you're losing clicks, maybe getting impressions, but losing clicks from super informational queries, were you going to get revenue from that traffic anyways? The answer is probably not, is people are not in buyer's mode. They don't have their wallet handy. They're just looking for a simple answer to a question. So SEOs, or whether in-house or if brand is using a third-party agency, they need to be more strategic about where they're putting their effort into. Maybe getting a bit more middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, things that are closer to the actual transaction point has been more fruitful. There's not as many AI overviews appearing for more transactional intent, and it'll just help serve conversions better. What's the point of all this traffic if people aren't converting anyways? So traffic volume might be low, but maybe conversion value will go up tremendously.
I think that there's like this shift. When I first was in the internet, early 90s, mid 90s, AOL. So everything was one quarter of the website. And now we're seeing where if Google turns off all the search traffic, which they're starting to do, then it's going to be like, I'm only on Facebook or I'm only on Twitter. And it's just these few big sites will become, in a short term period, the replacement for AOL, right? Like the replacement of, oh, I only see data to Twitter. There's people who only search on TikTok for information. They only use that as their platform. And I wonder if we'll go through a period of that and then another fracturing like we did after AOL kind of fell apart, where people suddenly did need to go through AOL to get on the internet. So it's a very interesting time, and it's also how can a business endure during the most tumultuous time possible. And I think it is important because we've seen a lot of SEO tactics have been about massaging the numbers. I've certainly seen plenty of websites like rank for keywords that are completely irrelevant. Like how to reset your Google password. Yeah, it makes it look like you have a lot of potential to search, but it's not real. So that's always been one of the challenges. And I think that it doesn't, like, people still want personalized content. That's why we're seeing fracturing other markets, where we're seeing explosion of Patreon. We're seeing the explosion of other similar platforms where you can have a smaller audience, but they'll pay for your content. And it's interesting, that seems to be working better for smaller creators than for larger brands. Like people are a lot more likely to pay $5 a month for a small comedian that they like than they are for the New York Times. So we're seeing something that I actually think may be a larger opportunity for really small creators. If you get 1,000 people paying you $5 a month, that's a great life. Like that's a really solid, you know what I mean? That's perfect. Like, yeah, nothing to complain about. You pay your bills, you're doing what you love, and then you can grow that to maybe 1,100 people, 1,500 people. So I guess that's really the question. As we've seen a lot of like SEO disguised falling periods, right? Every time there's a massive update from Google, the traffic is over. It's every 3 months. And now we're hearing it's all forms of apocalypse. But now what I'm really noticing is that Google really is trying to keep you from clicking anything. If I do a search, I have to really dig and scroll down to see a website that it hasn't paid to be there. And we have seen them do these changes in the past. Like easy articles used to be the number one result, and then it was WikiHow, right? Like these different platforms were like everywhere. And then
Yeah.
article writing used to be an entire business model, right? A huge business model like 12, 15 years ago, gone.
Spinning.
You've never seen
Yeah.
easy articles as search results anymore, right?
No.
Google has this power to make and kill a business, and we're seeing them do it to Reddit, and we're seeing them do it to other platforms. But even we're seeing competitors, and this is interesting, like Perplexity is like, now we have search results that are like shopping related results. Cause they're like, how do we monetize our platform? We'll be affiliates for shopping stuff. Do you think that the internet is going to get better or worse? Like that's, I think about with AI, we're getting back to internet 30 years ago where you could actually find what you're looking for. Like when I would do a search in 2001, I would actually find the website I was looking for in the first 2 or 3 resources. That's not the case with Google, right? It's never what you're looking for. And you have to dig through it. It's ads everywhere. And so it does bring it back to, oh, we've gotten back to neutral. But it's also really hard because so many people still, they just think search equals Google, AI equals ChatGPT, internet equals Facebook. How, like for smaller creators or even for like larger brands, how do they start to get noticed again? What's the new path forward?
Yeah, I think you bring up tons of really great points. The interesting part is where people in the techosphere, like the broad techosphere, that could be any type of business, we're the ones that see most of the noise. And then we're the ones that get most of that fear. It's like real fear marketing that's out there about this evolution. But the everyday person who's not in the techosphere or is not like reading things on LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff about how the sky is falling and AI is changing everything, they got no freaking idea what's going on. They have no idea what Perplexity is. And there's actually studies on this. They've done surveys on real people. They have no idea what Perplexity is. They know ChatGPT because of memes. They know Gemini because of commercials. They have no idea what Claude is. So we're in this bubble of fear that the sky is falling, but that bubble is really small compared to the rest of the world that's not hanging out in LinkedIn and talking about technology and marketing and AI. And it's really interesting. And what's going to happen is still yet to be determined because of that exact fact. A lot of people are making assumptions about what's going to change. I think you have a very valid point about the platforms and like the variety of places to get that dopamine or gratification that you're looking for in any capacity, which I think is awesome. Maybe that monopoly that Google has, because it is a monopoly, is slowly getting broken up. Bing is starting to get a little bit more market share. But then, yeah, you got TikTok, you have all these different platforms, Patreon, going to people directly. That can be really advantageous. And from a marketing perspective, go to where your audience is. Is your audience on YouTube? Is your audience in a specific forum? Is your audience on Reddit? Is your audience on OpenAI, ChatGPT? Maybe it's still on Google. It's a very interesting time.
Yeah, I think that's one of the important lessons is that people are still on the internet. They're just behavior shifting. And we've seen this happen before, right? Like I was really good at MySpace. That doesn't help anymore. What's the point? Friendster's gone. Platforms come and go. And Facebook was cool until your parents joined. So we're seeing all of these shifts. And the really important skill, and I think this is key, especially in this period of AI, is adaptability. You're seeing so many things like when one platform stops working, you just move to another one. Like I have done a massive shift to Pinterest because it's a particular type of person. There's a lot of traffic on there. It's a really fun platform. It's really interesting because nobody's mean on Pinterest. You're like, that's weird. Like every other social media platform, people are mean. Really, like everyone seems, because it's not comment based. It's more of a visual search engine, but it doesn't have any negativity to it. You never see anything on Pinterest that makes you feel bad. You just don't.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work on there. So it's interesting in that way. And also like, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn, but you can control your experience, who you follow, who you engage with. If you get pulled into more negativity, if you just follow stuff you like, lots of good stuff, you can really control your feed. But it is an important lesson, which is where's your audience? How is their behavior changing? And we've seen big companies make huge mistakes. Nobody is using 3D goggles to do work right now. One of my business partners lives in New York, and I was like, how often do you see people on the subway with an Air Vision Pro all the time? It was like, what? It's like, there's no benefit to having a headset on all day to have the exact same experience. Nothing changes other than your neck hurts. And we're seeing a lot of these mistakes, right? They're making these bets that people's behavior will change in certain ways. Like we're seeing a lot of shift. One of the things I see in AI that makes me crazy is everyone's going after AI voice. Nobody wants to talk to a foreigner on a support line, let alone an AI voice. Like it's all, they found something worse, right? That a person doesn't speak English. Now it's like not a person. And it's this pivot. And what you're going to see, I've already seen it happen where certain brands go heavy on the AI for their content. And then their audience goes, oh, this person hates me. If you don't care about me enough to write the email yourself, why would I read it? It's such a like disparity in power. That's why if you write the letter to a president, someone writes back, they try to make it feel like it's a real letter, right? Like they have someone who signs and that's how they use a stamp. Like they don't send you a form letter that makes you feel impersonal. That's like the president or celebrities too, like whatever it is, like that really makes a difference. And I think that we're unfortunately seeing a shift where people, this is the thing I hear all the time, is like, I want AI to be on my social media. I'm like, cool. That way your audience, like you should definitely outsource interaction with your audience, like your phone call with AI, your social media with AI. That way you never know what your audience wants. You won't know if they leave. And if things go bad, it'll be too late to fix it. So you're missing all of the warning signs. I really see like email, social media, support lines. Those are like the canary in the coal mine that let you know if something's wrong or people what they want to buy. You start to block out those lines of communication. That's when like you get really disconnected. And I think that's this dangerous space. The value in like organic content is like the comments. That's why any platform that turns off their comments, you already know like it's just a matter of time because it's like they're no longer engaging with your audience. This is not a conversation. Like the cool thing about the internet is you can leave a comment. Like there's an author who I really like who writes under the name FX Holden. He wrote this really great AI theory in a book about submarine warfare. And I was like, this is one of the best things I've ever read. It was so good. I messaged her on LinkedIn. Now we follow each other on LinkedIn. Now, that's what's really cool is that you can admire someone, message them and they respond, or you can, it used to be you message someone on Twitter like that you admired and then they'd say something nice back. Now it's like you try and rage bait them, which is a shame. But like the idea that you can message someone and kind of they respond, you can say, hey, what does the end of Interview with a Vampire mean? And then they'll tell you. That's really the good part of the internet. So the more we put AI in there, the value of social media disappears. Like the value of social media is not one way. It's the directional content. It's the possibility of someone reading your comments. So the more we glut it with AI, I think we do lose that. And I think that the value of SEO originally was like, I can find a blog or a small piece of content by someone that I like, and I can leave a comment, they'll respond to it. So that still exists in the form of Patreon, in the form of podcasting. So we're just seeing, I think, a shift in how you get, but you want the same thing. If you have the choice of following someone with 10 million followers and they will never respond to your comment, or someone with 10,000, they respond to every comment you leave, you're going to see a fracture, which I think is a good thing. I think you're actually going to see an explosion of creators, explosion of smaller channels, which means like more people can have careers. We don't need just a few superstars. That's why I like the difference between YouTube and Netflix. Netflix is 10 terrible movies that cost hundreds of $1 million, or you can find the creator you want. Sometimes I follow a creator with 2,000 followers. I'm like, every video they put out, I watch, because it's a micro relationship. And that really is the difference. And I think that is where the opportunity is, when people start to realize your audience still wants your content. They just have to find it in a different way. And one of the problems with SEO over the past 10 years is that you have to do more and more stuff to optimize your content. So the quality of your content would go down, right? So first it had to be 500 words, then 1,000 words, then 3,000 words. Then you have to have more and more keywords. And so you'd spend so much time optimizing and using tools to optimize for the SEO robots, your pure search engines, that the person visiting your blog isn't getting the experience. Like instead of getting the 500 word answer, now they're getting the 3,000 word article. Like that caused this shift where you go, I have to optimize, I have to have the right number of keywords, the right number of H tags, the right number of images, all of this stuff that was not about the person's experience. And that's always the challenge. I know you face this, is like, I have to balance ranking search engines and the people actually liking the content they get. And it's like, what if you could just write really good content or create videos that people like and you didn't have to optimize it for Google? Like that's a world I would love to live in, right? Imagine if just every video you watched on YouTube, you liked. Wouldn't that be like, what a crazy world to live in? Or like every blog you visited was the answer to your question. So I guess the real question is like, how do we get to that world where we actually get the benefit of AI instead of it making everything terrible?
Yeah, you brought up a really great point. adapt and evolve. There's a trait among people that have been doing SEO for many years. You've been in it since the 90s in digital. So you probably remember the 2010 era. I very much did, because when I started in SEO, that was like SEO is dead. That was like the first, everything we were doing, spamming the crap out of the web, just changed overnight with the first Panda update, which was about quality. And a year later, Penguin came out, which is about links, and just completely flipped everything on its head. And there's a trait of people that continue to do well in their field. It's perseverance, adapt and evolve in those specific cases. From what we've seen and the data collection we've seen over the years is that I think we give sometimes Google too much credit, but they have made some really good advancements when it came to SEO, where we didn't necessarily need to target from our side and just from what we've seen, specific word counts, stuffing the keyword in a bunch of times, but being thematically relevant and really genuinely trying to blend user experience with topical themes has helped our clients write really great content overall and help bring people to the next stage of the funnel. I think that's something that Google has done very well. Whereas again, readability instead of the keyword in there a million times. What's interesting now, everyone's talking about optimize your content for AI, but then again, like what you said, what's happening to the user experience? Like you're optimizing for AI, but then somebody gets to your article, they don't take an action or a next step. And it's like oddly coming full circle until AI gets advanced, till LLMs get advanced enough to determine, hopefully objectively, what is good quality content that is beneficial for users. Instead of right now, we're in this game, including Google, of which platform is the best for X, which platform is the best for Y. And they're all trying to do it all. And all it's doing is not creating a good user experience for people. So it's still just like a weird change of times. And I don't agree with this whole optimize for AI thing. I think there's a lot of information out there that shows that LLMs.text doesn't do anything because it's a proposal, not an actual thing. And if you look at crawl stats from your server logs, nobody's pulling up your LLMs.text file. And there are things like structured data. Sure. Right now, the only thing we can do is just track visibility and continue doing what we're doing. Good marketing, good SEO, write content that you think would be valuable to users, use it for social, use it for email. If it gets picked up by Google, sweet. If Google shows an AI overview, let's try and be the first one mentioned. And then you got AI overviews now also taking a shift because Google's testing out the placement of AI overviews. So there's a lot of screenshots out there. I've seen it on some of my searches now. There's sometimes, sure, the paid, maybe 4 organic results, and then AI overviews. So what is that going to look like with click-through rate? Where all historical data is lost. There's no like consistent data tracking to see what things look like because everything's so up in the air. But I think that just shows that like we're in a state of evolution, adapt and evolve, but don't jump the gun and don't do things that may not be applicable. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that the core message, and this is the thing kind of business through line for me, is that people who get so caught up in the acronym search engine optimization. What is SEO? SEO is creating a way for people who want your content to find your content without you paying. That's what it really means. If we cut it down to organic, we start thinking, okay, if people are changing how they search or how they do things, and we're certainly seeing a big spike in like referrals or recommendations. Like whenever I'm hiring an engineer, I'm far more likely to hire a referral where someone actually knows them, because you do the entire like recruiting space, job seeking space is trashed right now. AI has ruined it. If 600 resumes read by AI, they get read by an AI and misread, and then like you miss, both sides have a bad experience because people are lying about the resumes, people are misreading the resumes, and it's actually destroyed that space. So what do you shift to? Do you know somebody who could do this? That has become, getting asked, do you know somebody who could do this job, is a spike for me in the last 6 months, like 10x. It comes up so much more often. Whereas in the 10 years before that, it never came, because you could post a job on search platforms and you get resumes. And like now there's even people, they'll have ChatGPT open during the interview and do all those things. And now you have to develop detection techniques and with more and more complicated questions that AI can't answer, and do a lot of tricks. But the shift towards, and just thinking of the core concept, which is I want to make content that people like and that people can find. The way people are searching is changing slightly. Now, people don't use LLMs to find fiction or entertainment. They're not using it to find today's news very much. It's a very rare use case. So there are certain things you search for, which is like how to change a tire. So there are some websites where that disappears, but honestly, I'm going to watch a video because I need to know exactly where to put the jack under my car. You know what I mean? So I think video is taking that space, but there is a certain type of informational content where you're writing an essay, you're doing that type of research. Maybe it's going to push Wikipedia away. That might get replaced with LLMs, but the actual content, and most content on the internet is entertainment. You could call it educational. You could watch Discovery Channel for 6 years and learn everything you can about running a pawn shop. You won't be able to do it. I can go into a garage right now and say, that's an old bicycle, but I still don't know what it's worth or how to restore it. I've watched so many of those videos, right? It's not actually educational, it's still entertainment. So if you think about that as your entertainment, and people are shifting towards fractionalism, that's why people have their favorite creators. Most people don't watch 500 different YouTube channels. They follow 10, 50, or 100 creators, and that's it. You lock in to what you're interested in, you develop your own television channel. So I think that to me is really the future, is that seeing that AI is shaking up things, but it's fracturing the market, which is a really good thing. I think it's actually a big opportunity for smaller players. And it's a big opportunity for you to make content that you're proud of again. Like when I shifted from SEO focus to Pinterest focus, it's like, I don't have to put any keywords in my content. I don't have to think about that. I just write content that answers the question and that I think is good and has pictures that I like. And I still get the same amount of traffic. That's a good feeling. And then people who visit my website either like me or hate me. There's no middle. And that's what you really want, is your super fans and people who never be fans anywhere, to separate themselves as quick as possible. So that's how I see it. I see it as it is a tumultuous time, and it, especially for people that have like really low quality content and rely on, like, you visit a news website, you can't turn off the video thing that's playing. You can't turn off all these offensive ads. And I think the same thing about podcasts. So many podcasts have ads for things that you would never want to talk about in person. It's like gambling or illegal stuff, or all sorts, or like underwear. Like every podcast has an underwear sponsor. I don't know what brand of underwear any of my friends wear. It's literally never.
You know what I mean? You ask them at the bar.
It's exact, but and yet in podcasts you have to do it. So the shift away, hopefully we see a shift more and more away from like bad advertising and start thinking about, what about the experience? It's like I could visit 2 blogs. This one has 500 ads. This has none. And then I do see sponsorships. People are much more likely to spend $20 a month with a brand they like or content creator they like than they are with Netflix. Netflix is across that. People complain about that. So I think that kind of is what has me excited, that AI will fracture the market and create opportunities. But obviously for the really big creators, that's a negative thing. But for the smaller people, that's an opportunity.
Yeah, it could be. What's interesting is I'm a city boy from New York, and I moved to Salt Lake a couple of years ago, and I'm learning how to be handy. And YouTube videos tremendously help with like DIY stuff. But I decided to test out Gemini Live on my phone, and I was like, damn, this is actually pretty legit. I have a complex sprinkler system in the house I bought. And in Gemini Live, I turn on my camera and I'm pointing at it and I'm talking to it and it's telling me what to do. And I'm like, wow. And then it asks, hey, I think you'll need this part. Do you want me to see if the local Lowe's or Home Depot has it for you? And I'm like, damn. So it's such an interesting time. And I think stuff like that, I love the small creators of the DIYs, the guys in their garage. I always appreciate them. I think they have the best information, especially like the little hacks, but the impact that stuff like that for guys who are learning how to be handy, what would that look like for even the smaller creators? That's an interesting one. Gemini Live is hit and miss, but
yeah, I think that how many lockpicking videos have you watched, but you've never actually picked a lock? Every guy watches this. We all do it.
How stuff works.
I remember, we're all watching. Everyone I know at some point watches lockpicking videos, or I get interested in those things, but I don't know how to do any of that. I'm not handy in that way. I could take
like, I'm going to need this in 10 years. I'm going to need this information in 10 years.
If I watch this enough, I'll become a little bit more manly. I'll feel more macho. So there is part of it that, again, it's the entertainment phase, and it's really interesting to watch certain types of content that you go through. Like, I watch retro video game content. I don't play any retro video games. I did it when they came out like 30 years ago. So you do a lot of the content you watch, even when it's DIY stuff. I watch plenty of DIY stuff that I'll never do. So there is still that element to it. And I think that we will see it again, because it's educational implementable. It may become, it gets replaced with AI, which is an AI scans your room. You can tell exactly what size toilet I have or the right size toilet seat and get the right size bolts. That's come up for us with quite a few toilet seats we've ordered online. That you have a circle or an O. I'm like, what? Those sound like the same thing to me. Wrong shape, or is it a U or a circle? I'm like, they both look like circles in the picture. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I can see that a lot of that. So it may become in some areas that things do disappear, but it's also, I don't know. I think we always worry that things will go away. We saw this with music when Napster came out. People steal music. There's no more money in music. Musicians still seem to get pretty rich. What we actually have seen is a shift to all the money is made in concerts, which is how music was in the 1800s. We've literally gone back full circle to 120 years ago. If you wanted to make money as a musician, you would travel from town to town and sing in bars or saloons, whoever get paid. And now that's what you do, is it's just arenas and stuff. And also I think music is fracturing towards more smaller bands. That's why you're seeing less arena tours, less stadium tours, and a lot more smaller things, which again it's really good. Like my favorite singer has 3,000 followers. Guess what? And
and they got 3,000 followers and they got diehard fans.
Yeah. You find, that's the thing, is that you can find someone you like, you become a super fan, and like, you can message them and they'll reply. And that's really cool. I think that's the kind of future that I want. So I do see, it will be interesting to see which things last and which things don't. I don't think DIY type content will disappear. It may change its format. We may engage with it in different ways. Like those people will just have to adapt. I never thought people would pay to like just watch someone else play a video game. That's wild to me, but it's huge. So the market is constantly shifting. It's just changing faster. And that, I think you're right. This right now, AI, like SEO is the scapegoat, because yeah, things are changing, but it's been changing for a long time. Like you said, Penguin and all those updates. I remember that was like, because it used to be, oh, you just put links on everyone's comments on every blog, and it would link back to yours and you'd get traffic. So it was really like
bookmarks, easy articles,
all horrible
in the
exactly.
articles. Yeah.
It was all automation, and it's always been that way. So I think that the pursuit of good content will always rise to the top. There's something about that. And that it's just, the other trick is, how do I get found? And once you figure that out, and it's different for everyone, it's different market. I see this a lot. Like I do a lot of interviews with startups, and there's so many startups that are failing. And like, what problem do you solve? That's why you're going to fail. If you don't have an answer to that, that's why your business, you have a cool product, there's a lot of cool AI stuff, but it's not going to last. And it's the same thing, which is, who is your audience? Where are they? And what do they want?
Yeah. And there's definitely AI burnout. Anyways, everyone, this is memes and stuff about, oh, sell me this pen from like Wolf of Wall Street. It's AI powered. I think,
yeah, listen, I don't use AI as how to work. There's this misconception. Like I live on a tropical island. I go to the beach. My phone, the sound is never turned on. It's never set to vibrate unless my wife is like at the doctor's office with one of my kids, then I'll turn the sound on, but that's it. So I very much a Luddite when I'm not at work. And that's the thing. The purpose of AI is really to allow you to spend more time not doing computer stuff. That's the most important thing. So you're exactly right about the burnout, because the idea of I'm going to wear a headset and AI controls everything I see and does all my work, well, then you're a complete disconnect from reality. So I do think that's the right direction. For people that are trying to figure out how to navigate this thing, or they're seeing a drop in their traffic and they're like, I better turn this around, and they are interested in kind of this content path you've talked about, where's the best place for them to find you and see what you're doing online, see all the amazing stuff you're working on?
Yeah. So definitely, yeah, shifting, I'll definitely plug, but at this moment, as long as AI will continue to gaslight you, will continue to be a yes man, will continue to hallucinate, give inaccurate information, there's still going to be that avoidance of full adoption by people. And that may or may not happen, depending on what's subjective and objective there. Yeah, the changing times, SEO strategies just need to evolve. What's interesting is clicks are down. We have 95% of my clients can accurately attribute organic revenue being up when we shift all of our attention back to pages that drive revenue, pages that drive money. So like you said, who cares about those vanity clicks like free email signature and all those things? If you can still make true business impact while investing in SEO, that's where the pivot at this present time is. And there's a lot of data to back that up. But if anyone wants to learn more, you can check us out. We are at breaktheweb.agency. You can Google Break the Web and find us. And sometimes I share some things on LinkedIn. And I join podcasts.
Thank you so much for being here today, Jason, for another amazing episode of the Artificial Intelligence Podcast.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Artificial Intelligence Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. We'll be back next Monday with more tips and strategies on how to leverage AI to grow your business and achieve better results. In the meantime, if you're curious about how AI can boost your business's revenue, head over to artificialintelligencepod.com/calculator. Use our AI revenue calculator to discover the potential impact AI can have on your bottom line. It's quick, easy, and might just change the way you think about your business. While you're there, catch up on past episodes, leave a review, and check out our socials. If you enjoyed this episode, I've got 2 more that I think you're going to love. Click one of these videos to dive into more awesome content, and don't forget to subscribe for even more insights on using AI to grow your business. And I'll see you in the next one.